What happens when one of the country's most relentless anti-corruption activists publicly declares that top police leadership should be behind bars and refuses to back down even as the pressure mounts? That's exactly the storm you're about to step into. In the next moments, we unpack the explosive claims, the political tension, and the legal questions that are rippling through South Africa's security landscape. Stay with this story all the way through, and if you want more deep-dive breakdowns like this, subscribe now and don't miss what unfolds next. The controversy didn't erupt quietly. It landed like a thunderclap across the national conversation, fueled by public statements that questioned not just decisions, but the integrity of leadership itself. Within hours, media platforms, legal commentators, and political observers were parsing every word, every implication, every possible consequence. The reaction wasn't uniform. Some saw courage, others saw confrontation. But no one ignored it. The debate moved fast, and so did the speculation. Behind the headlines lies a deeper tension that has been building for years, a simmering distrust between watchdog figures and state institutions tasked with enforcing the law. When accusations surface at this level, they rarely stay contained. They trigger internal reviews, public scrutiny, and political ripple effects that stretch far beyond the original claim. Power structures feel pressure, narratives begin to shift, silence becomes impossible. What makes this moment especially charged is the framing, not vague criticism, not cautious concern, but direct insistence on criminal accountability at the highest level of policing authority. That level of certainty changes the temperature instantly. It reframes public discussion from "is there a problem?" to "who is responsible?" The language alone redraws the battlefield. Legal observers quickly began dissecting what such claims could mean in practical terms. Allegations alone do not create prosecutions, but they can ignite investigations, and investigations can reshape reputations long before any court becomes involved. Institutional credibility becomes part of the trial, not in a courtroom, but in public perception, and perception moves faster than procedure. Inside political circles, reactions have been measured but unmistakably tense. Statements have been careful, responses have been calibrated. No one wants to escalate unnecessarily, yet no one wants to appear passive either. That delicate balance reveals just how sensitive the situation has become. When leadership legitimacy is questioned openly, every response carries weight. By now, you can see why this story is gripping the national conversation. It's not only about accusations, but about trust, authority, and the limits of oversight. If you want to understand how power is challenged in real time, and what that means for the future of policing and accountability, make sure you're subscribed and keep watching to the end. The most revealing layers are still ahead. As the situation evolves, attention has turned toward oversight mechanisms, particularly institutions designed to investigate misconduct within law enforcement itself. One body repeatedly mentioned in expert discussions is the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, whose mandate places it at the center of any serious inquiry involving police leadership. Its role is technical, procedural, and often slow, but its influence can be profound. Public reaction has not followed a single script. Some communities see the controversy as validation of long-held concerns about accountability gaps. Others view it as destabilizing rhetoric that risks undermining confidence in policing structures already under strain. The divide reflects something deeper than disagreement. It reveals competing definitions of justice itself. Media coverage has intensified scrutiny by revisiting past disputes, earlier investigations, and long-standing tensions between reform advocates and security institutions. Context changes interpretation. A single statement rarely stands alone once history enters the frame. Patterns begin to emerge, or at least appear to. Meanwhile, legal analysts are focusing on thresholds. What constitutes actionable evidence? What differentiates political pressure from prosecutable conduct? These questions matter because public accusations can surge quickly, but legal standards move deliberately. The gap between those timelines often shapes the outcome more than the original claim. Institutional leadership now faces a complex communication challenge. Respond too aggressively and risk appearing defensive, respond too cautiously, and risk appearing evasive. Strategic silence can signal discipline or vulnerability, depending on who is watching. Every public word becomes part of the unfolding narrative. The broader governance landscape is also absorbing the shockwaves. When disputes reach this level, they rarely remain confined to one office or department. Oversight committees, policy debates, and internal reviews begin intersecting. Systems start examining themselves. That process can be slow, but it can also be transformative. Political analysts note that moments like this often become symbolic turning points, whether or not formal legal consequences ever follow. They crystallize tensions that have been building quietly. They force institutions to define themselves publicly. They reshape expectations about transparency and accountability. At the same time, the public conversation has taken on a momentum of its own. Social commentary, opinion panels, and community forums are amplifying interpretations faster than official statements can respond. Narrative velocity matters. Once momentum builds, controlling the story becomes nearly impossible. What remains unclear is how far the situation will travel through formal channels. Investigations may deepen. Responses may intensify, or the conflict may shift into a prolonged standoff of claims, denials, and procedural maneuvering. Each path carries different consequences for institutional trust. Observers are now watching for signals, not dramatic announcements, but subtle indicators. Who speaks, who stays silent, what processes are triggered, and how oversight bodies position themselves. These signals often reveal more than headlines. And as this chapter closes, the story remains unresolved, suspended between accusation and outcome, pressure and procedure, certainty and proof. If you want to follow where this leads next, whether toward accountability, confrontation, or institutional reset, subscribe now and keep watching through to what comes next. The final developments may be the most revealing of all.